Love beyond appearances. Hello, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we'll take you on an emotional journey where the unexpected meets destiny and barriers are overcome by the power of love. Get ready for a story that will touch your heart. Chapter 1: Unexpected Encounter. Emma Johnson walked through the corridors of the luxurious Pacific Heights Hotel in San Francisco, pushing her cleaning cart with light and determined steps. At 28 years old, she had been working as a maid at the hotel for almost 5 years, always focused and dedicated to her job. Emma was a woman of natural beauty, with wavy brown hair that gently fell over her shoulders, green eyes that reflected her kind soul, and a smile that radiated a calming warmth. That morning, the sun was shining through the hallway windows, bathing everything in a golden light. Emma was assigned to clean the presidential suite, one of the most expensive and sophisticated rooms in the hotel. As usual, she lightly knocked on the door before entering, announcing her presence. There was no response, so she entered, believing the guest had not yet arrived. The room was stunning, decorated with elegant furniture, modern artwork, and a breathtaking panoramic view of San Francisco. Emma began tidying up the room with the precision and care that were her trademarks. However, as she was about to finish, she heard the sound of the door opening. She quickly turned around and, to her surprise, found herself face to face with a man who exuded power and confidence. Ethan Williams, a renowned 36-year-old businessman, had just entered the suite. He was tall, with neatly trimmed dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through people. His posture was impeccable, dressed in a tailored suit that highlighted his athletic figure. Though he was used to handling unexpected situations, Ethan couldn't help but be momentarily speechless when he saw Emma standing there in the middle of the room. For a brief moment, Ethan's eyes met Emma's, and both felt a silent connection. He noticed the simplicity and grace with which she moved, and something inside him was touched in a way he didn't expect. Accustomed to sophisticated and calculating women, he found in Emma a purity and sincerity that disarmed him. "Sorry, sir, I didn't know the room was occupied," Emma said, her voice soft but firm. Ethan, still absorbing her presence, smiled slightly. "No, please, go ahead," he replied, feeling an inexplicable desire to prolong the interaction. Though a bit unsettled by his presence, Emma quickly finished her work, maintaining her professional composure. As she finally prepared to leave, Ethan, driven by an unusual curiosity, called out to her. "Excuse me, but what's your name?" She turned around, surprised by the question, but responded with her usual calmness. "Emma, sir. Emma Johnson." Ethan repeated her name mentally, as if trying to imprint it in his memory. "Nice to meet you, Emma." "My name is Ethan Williams," he said, offering a sincere smile. Emma simply nodded, a slight blush rising to her cheeks. Without another word, she left the suite, her heart beating a little faster than usual. For some reason, that encounter had left her feeling unsettled, though she couldn't quite understand why. Ethan, for his part, stood alone in the suite, staring at the door through which Emma had just exited. He was a man who was used to getting everything he wanted, but for the first time in a long time, he felt he had encountered something, or someone, that truly piqued his interest. Something that none of his previous experiences had been able to offer. And so, The unexpected meeting between Emma and Ethan marked the beginning of a story that would forever change both of their lives. Chapter 2: The Awakening of Feelings. Ethan Williams couldn't get Emma Johnson out of his mind. Since their unexpected encounter in the presidential suite, he found himself thinking about her with an unsettling frequency. What was it about this woman that so completely disarmed him? He didn't know, but he was determined to find out. 2 weeks passed, and Ethan returned to San Francisco for an important business conference. Though his mind was filled with commitments, he couldn't resist the temptation to book the presidential suite at the Pacific Heights Hotel again. There was a quiet hope within him that he might see her again. In the first few days of his stay, Ethan had no success finding Emma. He found himself discreetly watching the corridors and common areas of the hotel, but she seemed to have vanished. On the third night, almost ready to give up, he caught a glimpse of her as she left one of the service rooms. Their eyes met for a brief second before Emma disappeared around a corner. It was enough to reignite the fire of his curiosity and desire. The next day, Ethan gathered his courage and approached her while she was cleaning the lobby. He was nervous, an unusual sensation for someone so self-assured, but he hid it well. "Emma, good morning," he said casually, but there was an intensity in his gaze that she couldn't ignore. Emma looked at him, surprised, but maintained her composure. "Good morning, Mr. Williams. How can I help you?" Ethan smiled, trying to ease the tension. "I was thinking, would you like to go out with me tonight? Just for dinner. I know you probably have other plans, but I'd love your company." Emma blinked, a little stunned by the invitation. It wasn't common for her to receive such attention, especially from someone like Ethan. Still, her humility made her hesitate. "Sir, I appreciate it," but she began to decline, but he interrupted her gently. "Please, Emma, call me Ethan. And as for dinner, I'd really like to talk more with you. Don't worry about anything. I'll take care of everything." Emma was silent for a moment, choosing her words carefully. She knew that Ethan came from a world completely different from hers, but something about him intrigued her in a way she couldn't explain. Perhaps it was the sincerity in his eyes, or the gentle tone in his voice. In the end, she accepted with a timid nod. "All right, Ethan. I'll accept the invitation." Later that evening, Ethan met her in the lobby, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. Emma, on the other hand, was nervous. She didn't have anything suitable for the kind of place she imagined Ethan would take her and shyly expressed her concern. "I don't have anything to wear to a sophisticated place," she admitted, a bit embarrassed. Ethan, realizing the seriousness of her concern, smiled calmly. "Don't worry about that. We'll take care of it now." He took her to one of the most exclusive boutiques in the city, where Emma was treated like a true queen. They tried on elegant dresses, delicate shoes, and stunning accessories. Then, Ethan took her to one of the best beauty salons in San Francisco, where Emma was transformed. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she barely recognized the refined and elegant woman reflected back at her. That night, Ethan took her to a gala dinner at one of the city's most exclusive clubs. The hall was filled with influential businessmen, socialites, and celebrities, all dressed in the finest fashion. Emma entered by Ethan's side, feeling both enchanted and out of place. As the evening progressed, Emma began to relax, thanks in large part to Ethan's constant support. However, the women present, all well-born and educated at the best schools, soon noticed Emma's presence. They approached, curious and often indiscreet in their questions. "Where do you know Ethan from?" one of them asked, her eyes assessing Emma from head to toe. "How did you two meet?" another insisted, her tone slightly condescending. With her characteristic sincerity, Emma answered as best as she could, but it didn't take long for the truth to come out. She was humble, and despite her physical transformation, her simplicity and purity shone through. The women, realizing she wasn't one of them, began to whisper and exchange looks of disdain. Ethan noticed Emma's discomfort and tried to intervene, but his friends quickly surrounded him, questioning his choice. "She's beautiful, but she's not like the others, Ethan." "What are you doing?" asked one of his closest friends, Andrew, with a tone of concern. "Do you really think you can have something serious with a woman like her?" another friend, Jessica, asked, her gaze full of doubt. Ethan, in a mix of frustration and anger, defended Emma. "She's more than any of you could imagine. And if you can't see that, then you don't know the true essence of a person." But for Emma, the embarrassment was too much. She murmured an excuse to leave and discreetly exited the party. When Ethan realized she was gone, he tried to follow her but couldn't find her. In the days that followed, Ethan tried everything to speak to Emma, called several times, but she didn't answer. She quit her job at the hotel, disappearing completely from his life. Ethan returned to his city, but Emma's absence weighed on his heart in an unbearable way. He knew he needed to find her, somehow. Something stronger than himself was pushing him towards her, something he had never felt before. Chapter 3: Love and Overcoming. Ethan Williams had never felt so lost. Since Emma disappeared from his life, he was consumed by a void that none of his achievements or wealth could fill. He spent weeks trying to get in touch with her, but all his attempts were in vain. Determined not to give up, Ethan made a decision. He would return to San Francisco, find Emma, and not leave without her. Arriving in the city, Ethan immediately began his search. He went to the hotel where she worked, spoke with the staff, but no one seemed to know where Emma was. He spent days wandering the city, trying to find any clue that would lead him to her, but his efforts seemed futile. On the 5th day, on the verge of despair, Ethan was about to give up. He entered an ice cream parlor to try and clear his mind, and, as he looked toward the counter, he saw a familiar figure. His heart skipped a beat when he recognized Emma behind the counter, serving a customer. Emma saw him too, and for a brief moment, time seemed to stop. Ethan's eyes were filled with determination and emotion, while Emma's reflected a mix of surprise and nervousness. Without thinking twice, Ethan walked up to her, completely ignoring the other customers in the parlor. "Emma," he began, his voice heavy with emotion. "I've looked for you everywhere. I can't live without you." Emma, still in shock, tried to say something, but Ethan didn't give her time. "I know I come from a different world, I know I made mistakes," but he took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on hers. "I've never met anyone like you, someone who makes me feel that what I really need in life isn't something money can buy." And then, in an impulsive and desperate gesture, Ethan knelt down in the middle of the ice cream parlor. The few customers in the place began to watch, and a reverent silence took over the atmosphere. "Emma Johnson, will you marry me?" he asked, looking at her with a sincerity that touched the hearts of everyone around. Emma stood still, her eyes wide, incredulous at what was happening. Tears began to form in her eyes, but she couldn't hold back the smile that spread across her face. Finally, she found her voice, weak but filled with emotion. "Ethan," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he replied, his voice also choked with emotion. "Please, say yes." Emma could no longer hold back her feelings. She ran to him, wrapping him in a tight embrace. They kissed, right there in the middle of the ice cream parlor, in front of everyone, sealing the promise of a future together. When they finally parted, Emma was still in shock. "I never imagined you would do something like this," she said, laughing softly as she wiped away her tears. "I never imagined I would find someone like you," Ethan replied, holding her hands tightly. "And that's why I'm here. I want to live my life by your side, Emma. It doesn't matter where, how, or under what circumstances." Emma nodded, still emotional. "I want that too, Ethan. I never thought I deserved something like this, but you made me believe that maybe I do." The two left the ice cream parlor hand in hand, their eyes shining with joy. Ethan, keeping his promise, decided to stay in San Francisco. He bought a house near Emma's parents and soon began opening a branch of his company in the city. Before the new branch was fully operational, Ethan and Emma decided to get married. The ceremony was simple, just for family and a few close friends, but it was perfect in their eyes. They exchanged sincere vows, promising to love and care for each other forever. For their honeymoon, Ethan took Emma to the Caribbean, where they spent days of pure happiness and love. It was there, by the sea, under the starry sky, that Ethan confessed, "I knew, from the first moment you walked into that room, that you were the person I had been looking for my whole life. I just needed time to accept that I could be worthy of you." Emma smiled, gently stroking Ethan's face. "I knew too, Ethan. From the beginning, I knew there was something special about you. And now, I know I want to spend the rest of my life discovering what else we can be together." They kissed, as the gentle waves of the Caribbean lapped against the sand, sealing the beginning of a new life full of love. Together, they overcame the barriers that separated them and found in each other the perfect complement to their lives. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next exciting stories we'll be sharing here. Share it with your friends and let us know your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.